Physically present in B207, not physically present in a separate location. I am speaking to you, not to those that might get the email notification that are not actually here today. That doesn't count. All right, so it is 2:34. We gave it a couple extra minutes because it's, the most wonderful time of the year with final exams and final projects and wrapping all the things up. And, can I have extra credit because I forgot to do all of my work all semester? Which I usually respond with, Colleen has 4 boys at home, and Colleen refers to herself in the third person when people ask her about extra credit when they should have been doing the work since September. Don't make her do that, please. So it is that time of year. Speaking of that, I wrote this down in September and have forgotten until 30 minutes ago, even though it's on my syllabus. Tuesday the 19th, so like a week from today, is a Friday schedule. You are welcome if you are in the same boat as me and forgot. And it's in a really teeny tiny font with a little asterisk at the bottom of the academic calendar, which I did see in August and then forgot. So that's there. So don't forget that. And then, of course, next week is the last week of the fall 2023 semester, which is crazy. I can't believe how fast it went. I feel like this is one of the fastest fall semesters I've experienced in a long time. I usually, when people ask me, I say that the spring flies, right? Because with the spring, we start almost at the end of January, and then we have a break in February, and then we have a spring break, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're done. Where we don't really have those breaks built into the fall semester, but it just really felt very fast for me this semester. Speaking of Tuesdays, last Tuesday was also a big day for SUNY Erie. We have a new president of the college, Dr. Adiam Sagai, who was appointed by the SUNY Board of Trustees last week. Thank you, Adiam. We're so excited for your continued leadership and consistency, and just looking forward to keep moving forward with all the great things that we've been working on, and we can continue that moving forward as we move SUNY Erie into the next phase of greatness. So congratulations. A couple other awesome things that are happening. Let's see if I can pull it up. And if you have great things, I welcome them all the time. Sometimes I'll hear things after the fact. If I announce something that was awesome at the college, you're like, well, this group did this or this group did that. I only know about things if they're informed, if I get an email or if I'm told about it. So I want to point out that we had an EN 100 group of students up here at North Campus, and maybe at South Campus too. Was it multi-campuses? Just north and online. So Lisa Maslow's students, she had 18 multiple students write letters of the editor for the Buffalo News, but 18 of them were published. So I'll make sure I send this out and share it, but she sent me the links for all of them, and it was just all sorts of different AI, which is later in the agenda. The conflict with Muslim hate. I saw something about butterflies, Ozempic and Wegovy. Just really men's suicide rates, just a couple of different things. Butterflies and grief awareness, just all different things across the spectrum that the students wrote the letter to the editor, and they were featured in the Buffalo News. So that's really awesome for our students and for that class. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. And I want to encourage everyone, either physically here or watching at home, if you have great, awesome stuff that your students are doing, your colleagues are doing, please share it with me so that I can share it with the college community and get the news out. Because we should be celebrating each other and our students which I know we do, but I feel like sometimes we don't do it often enough because we get lost in the shuffle of busyness and students and grading, and then we go home and it's maybe chaotic with home and families and all of that we really need to take some time to appreciate each other and the great work we do here at the college. So with that, I'm going to conclude my College Senate report. But before I move to the president's report, not the officer in charge's report, I forgot to read the College Senate charge. So I was going to make someone do it, and then I got distracted. So I'll just read it real quick. College Senate is the central component of shared governance at Erie Community College. The College Senate studies, discusses, and makes resolutions on matters pertaining to the core academic mission of the college and to the interrelationships among academics and the other functional areas of the college, such as budgeting, student services, and workforce development. And with that charge, you'll see some items that did come up on the agenda that are going to touch student services and some of the other areas that came up at the last College Senate and that we are working towards as a whole body moving forward. So all really great stuff. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sagai. Thank you.
So I gotta say, this has been an incredible journey. And I have to tell you, I couldn't have done it without you. That was a life-changing for me, as you know, and my family, as you know, and I know a lot of you watched the speech that I was given the opportunity to present. But I got to tell you, it's not because without the support of this community, right? Our community, and I mean our college community, is incredible. So one of the things I did not have difficulty was that to talk about our college and to talk about the pride, because part of that is me, right? I started here, and I'm here running the college. That's an incredible. And I say that humbly, right? That is because of the faculty. That is because of the staff. That is because of all the people that impacted my life. And those are the faculty and the staff at SUNY Erie that gave me that opportunity. So I want to make sure that all of us know this journey is not my only journey. This is because of all of us here today. So thank you so much for all the support, for all the work that you do day in and day out. So thank you so much. Let's clap, because this is a win for us. So part of the thing I have to constantly reflect is this: where do we go from here, right? Part of what we have to do as a leader and as a group is this is the next phase of our sort of journey. What does that mean for us? So one of the things I believe, and a lot of us see it, right, is that we have to build from our foundation, right? We have a solid foundation. Part of that is our mission and our value, our core. So we're going to go back to that and constantly remind ourselves, right, why are we here? Right? Why is this institution here, and what's the mission and vision and core value of the college? And then the second piece to that is that we all, over 500 plus of us, participated in our strategic plan, right? So we have to go back to that and tie everything that we do to those four foundational principles. What are the four foundational principles? Can somebody give me foundational number one? Come on. Kathy, of course.
Student success and empowerment.
Absolutely, right? And we talked about that and why that is being the first one and the most critical one as to our foundation. What's the second one? I'm sorry? Second one?
Amy Yoder.
Institutional effectiveness.
Okay. Third? Okay. So I need someone to tell me four of our foundational principles. By any chance, Colleen, do you have that on top? Yes, Crystal, thank you.
I wasn't given that heads up.
Kathy
Crystal,
said
go right
the
ahead.
Student success and empowerment.
You could cheat, it's all right.
Diversity, equity, and belonging.
Yep.
economic development and upward mobility for students.
Yep.
And institutional stability.
Absolutely. So look, we want a roadmap, right? We created one. And so part of that roadmap is to really apply it and understand how that fit in what we do day in and day out. Is that fair? Right? We have to. Otherwise, what's our roadmap? Is everybody looking?
It's on the main website of the college.
Not my picture, though.
Oh, I wish you guys told me this ahead of time.
Well, no. We created it, right?
All right, there it is.
So I guess what I'm asking is that we are going back to fundamental, our mission, core value, right? And then we need to go back to our vision, obviously, right? And then our strategic plan of the college. So thank you, Colleen. I challenge all of us to make sure that we tie our work to that. I certainly will. And my report going forward will also reflect that to make sure that we're all going on the same direction. Thank you.
All right.
On that note, thank you. Okay, now let's talk about our enrollment. So we're reporting out every Monday through our institutional office so that we're clear as to where we are. So now, where are we with our enrollment? Based upon the data that was distributed to the college on Monday. Every Monday, we're going to send that out. I know we were doing it before. Fridays, was it, Eric? Now we're doing it Mondays. So where are we total student enrollment as of on the 8th? I just need numbers. Somebody tell me. 821. 821? Anybody else? Eric? Total number?
On December 8th, we had 2,856 registered for spring of 2024.
Right. That also includes non-high school, correct?
I'm sorry?
Non-high school,
No, that
high
does
school.
include the
The
high
high school?
Yeah.
What's the number of high school?
118 right now are registered for high school. Headcount-wise.
Second one. There you go. Right? So you see our high school number? Those are students that they're not here. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Those are students who are taking dual enrollment at the high school. So the 117 are not physically attending our college, but the rest will be attending our college come spring, right? We want to get to this number a lot higher. What's our number total this semester? Eric, help me out. What's the total number of students this semester?
Total number is 7,650 as of today.
That includes high school.
But that includes high school. There's 1,180 that are high school students.
So not bad, right? We're moving, but that number has to be a lot higher come spring, right? So we have a lot of work to do. When are we going to be done with class? When are classes over for the holiday break? Somebody help me. When?
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Next
Thank
Friday.
you.
There's 2 Fridays next week, in
Yeah.
case you missed my first announcement.
Right? So we have a couple weeks before our students leave, right? And I know Colleen talks a lot about this, where we want to make sure that all students are registered before they leave. And that applies the same here, same when we have our spring, our summer break, but we want to make sure that our students are registered before they leave. At the end of the day, it's all about our students. If our students are not here, we're going to have some challenges even more, right? So we want to make sure our students are here, our faculty and staff are here, but we want to make sure that we register our students before they leave this semester. So we'll continue to report out on that and send that to the college community, but what I want to make sure is that we all are involved in that conversation of enrollment. With that, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Yes,
All right.
Amy.
I was
Yes.
going to say, does anyone have any questions?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on the data.
Yes.
I actually had questions about this, so I'm glad that you brought this up. So, and this might not be directed at you, Audion, but maybe Erickson. Is chart number 1 including new and continuing students transfer in high school, right? Is chart number 2 just new student enrollment with the number count? Because I saw the total number was exactly the same.
Yeah, that's correct. That's reflective of our entire registration for the spring 2024 semester.
Just for
So-
new students?
Nope. So
Okay,
if you go up,
so here's my question on that, is because when I run the program enrollment report, comparison report by program, I have 762 students in liberal arts, so that would include my general studies students that are all registered, so it just seemed a little low to me. So that's why I wasn't sure if that was just new students and we're comparing, or,
no, so right there, what you see is there's two figures, two charts here. The top one is by higher ed history, so new continuing transfer in high
Yep.
school. The one below it is, thanks to Kathy's great work, she's dividing it up then by each of the academic divisions based on what's in the report.
okay.
Right, so I think, Amy, your question was that liberal arts has 700 students?
Yeah.
Not 292
But-
students?
Registered
for the spring?
General studies has 762 students registered for the spring. And then I was wondering where high school falls on the bottom, because again, the total number matches. So that's why I just wasn't sure.
Kathy?
The IRAP program enrollment is double counting students because they have multiple programs. So that report really shouldn't be used as a source of accurate enrollment. That's meant to use to actually drill into your students. I didn't write the report. I don't like the report. If I could tear it down, I would. But it's there now for you to use until we have a better one. But you should use it with that disclaimer involved in it. It's double counting, triple counting. If students have more than one major, they're showing up multiple times. In this instance, your high school students are non-degree.
Thank you.
And so part of the reason why this is helpful for now, but certainly we're not where we need to be, right? We can't really talk about retention or even grads, right? We have students who are graduating in January. We don't know how many for the college. For example, we had about close to 35 or close to 36 nursing students that just went through a ceremony. But we don't have a way of counting this. So it's a work in progress, right? Departments have a lot more handle on that than we probably as a college as of right now. But I'm telling you, this is something we're going to work on so that we have accurate data to be able to really understand what is going on. But I do submit that departments should be looking at information and be first-hand first. But we will send this, and as we go through it and get some feedback from folks, we'll clean it up to make sure it makes sense. But we have a lot of work to do going forward too. Any other questions?
Any other questions? All right, great. And thank
All
you for
right,
the
so
clarification.
next month, when we do this, I'm going to ask you about the mission and the strategic plan, okay?
I'll be ready to have it on the website
No, I want
up next
everybody
time.
to know what it is. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, the next thing we have is the approval of the minutes from the November 2023 College Senate meeting. They've been up for several weeks. Thank you to our awesome secretary, Mary Ortel. So I need a motion to approve the minutes from November 2023. Tom, thank you. And a second, Jackie Bossman, thank you. Any questions, comments? I can never remember that other word. What is that word? No, what's that word, Tom? Come on, parliamentarian. Objections. I got it. I got there. Objections. Any objections? All right. With no objections, then, we are going to accept the minutes from November 2023 by consent. If Michael Delaney was watching, he would have texted me that word. So I'm going to text him later, too, and tell him that even though he's retired, he's supposed to be on call. All right. Old business, governance. Michael Rio is unable to be here because of office moves for the English department at South Campus, but he wanted me to congratulate Crystal Graham, who is going to be the new non-voting liaison. Is she here? Are you here? I thought that was you. So congratulations. she's going to be a voting liaison from the list of non-voting liaisons. So thank you very much, and congratulations. Middle states and strategic plan updates, Kathy Calesto.
So we had 2 middle states supplemental information reports that are due. One was due last week for the occupational therapy program and their accreditation probation, and then the enrollment differential of 16.6% from 2019 to 2020. That one was just submitted before I walked into Senate, and I'd like to thank Jackie Bossman for working with me on both of those.
Great, thank you. Are we expecting feedback by a specific date or anything along those lines?
On those 2, I am not sure of a date, but I should follow up with, since you reminded me, the report that was submitted on July 7th was received by Middle States, and no further action is warranted on Standard 5. So thank you to everyone who worked on that.
All right, that's awesome news because, as for my entire tenure here, Middle States has always been that cloud in the corner that we've been trying to get away from. So that's great news that no further action is needed for Standard 5. So congratulations and well done to everybody that helped worked on collecting that data. Strategic enrollment management, Dr. Erickson Nealons.
Thank you. A few weeks ago, through SUNY, the early student survey for fall of 2023 was released. Some of the noteworthy highlights there is we did see a gain in our first-time student enrollment, both in terms of headcount and FTEs. This was part of a larger press release announcement from the governor as well as Chancellor King in regards to new student enrollment, incoming student enrollment. For SUNY Erie, our greatest opportunity still lies with keeping our students here, and that the retention is that enrollment key. We were down 6.7% in our continuing and returning category this fall compared to then the prior fall. When you look at the figure, and I can't show it here, but if you were to look at the difference between the incoming students and the continuing returning students over time, it's that loss of the continuing and returning student category that is our greatest opportunity in terms of the strategic plan. When we look at then our spring point in time enrollments, I am working closely now with Kathy and IRAP to be able to drill down deeper into each of the respective enrollment data. From a headcount, high level outcomes at this point, we are seeing that our first time student enrollment at this point is higher than where it was at this point in time last year. And if we remember last year, we were up compared to the prior year, so that's really great trajectory in terms of incoming students. The one that has started to slow down over the last week or so is our continuing student category and the enrollment there compared to last year. So as Dr. Sagai highlighted, I think really over these next 2 weeks, what we can do before the 22nd to make sure that all of our current students are registered before they leave is paramount in order to be able then to reach our enrollment goals for spring of 2024.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Erickson? Beautiful, and you're off the hook for the IRAP report because we talked about that during the President's report. Beautiful, thank you. Academic Assessment Committee, Dr. Sabrina Kane.
Not terribly much to report, but we still are looking for people to serve on the committee in the area of social sciences and the library.
Great, thank you. So any librarians or social science folks out there that want to participate in the Academic Assessment Committee of the College Senate, please email myself or Sabrina. We would love your input and your participation. So thank you very much. 7.5-week courses, Dave Uzinski.
Thank you. So just got a quick update on enrollment numbers and sections. Just a comparison to spring 23 versus the spring 24 proposed calendar. At this time, so I have it like point in time enrollment and section numbers. We had 17 sections on the book at this time last fall for the spring semester. And this time we have 29 So that's pretty significant increase in the number of sections. The number of students enrolled in those courses, we have 77 from last fall at this time enrolled for the spring, and this time we're at 111. So we've improved the student enrollment numbers as well. So the section numbers are increasing, and I would like to ask this, we don't have another Senate meeting until February. I almost said September. Wow, I'm like fast forwarding a whole semester. February, and so we have to start thinking about the fall schedule sooner than later once we get back from break. And so if you could think with your departments, like as you do your department meetings, what courses might be good courses to offer. This spring, English department is actually offering our first seated hybrid courses for the 7.5 weeks, and maybe we can expand that. And I know business has jumped on board with some consecutive courses, Business Law 1 and 2, and what was the other? The other one is just business. Intro to business, right, in both terms, first and second. So whatever could make sense, in people's departments, if you could start thinking about that now, because by the time I remind you in February, it might be too late. Schedules may have already been kind of adopted and approved. So just think, because usually what happens, believe it or not, we actually have less sections in the fall than we do in the spring, which is weird because we have more sections of courses offered in the fall than we do in the spring. So it's like we get the ball rolling, we think about it for the spring semester, but we don't really think about it for the fall. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Paul Danu is not here today, so I don't have anything to add to that facilities report. Advisement in Workday, Kathy Klesto.
So we'll provide a written report from Paul for the facilities for you.
Thank you.
Advisement in Workday, there was a fix that was sent out, I believe, last week. There was an email that went out to staff all, and that was a remedy for the English 102, which was also showing up as a humanities gen ed. It is still considered a humanities general education, but if you need to have a student who needs that class to count as that gen ed, you're going to have to do an override. And this was a decision determined through work of multiple people across campus on what would be easier for advisors. The second phase of these fixes, we're hoping to have testing starting, I was hoping this week, but it'll probably be next week at this point. So please stay tuned. If you're a liberal arts faculty, you'll be asked to run some testing for us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone have any questions? All right. Chancellor's Awards, Jackie Bossman.
Hi, everybody. All right, so at this point, Colleen Ungst and I, who are running the Chancellor's Awards Committee for College Senate, we've maxed out. I'll say we've maxed out on nominations, okay? So if you are still considering nominating someone for chancellors, we want to encourage that. We want to request that you do it for the following semester, so that would be for fall 2024. Because Chancellor's Awards happens every semester, right? So this, the party can continue, just not anymore in December, okay? If you are in the process of developing your packet, just make sure that you have all the appropriate information to Colleen and I by the end of the first week of the spring semester. So that's January 19th, okay? Also, if you are a nominator right now, I received some information from a contact at SUNY Awards today at 2:03 that I would like to share with you. So please reach out to me or Colleen personally. By personally, I mean over our work email, and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jackie and Colleen, for all your work on that. Thank you, SUNY Erie, for accepting the call to start celebrating each other, because we've really sincerely been lacking in that. And let's, as Jackie pointed out, this isn't just a one and done. This is cyclic, right? It happens every semester, every year, right? Just because we were, kind of hammering you right now for this coming award season, it doesn't mean now it's over, right? So keep thinking, keep those people in mind, or just be aware of the work that your colleagues are doing between now and the fall semester, that you're like, wow, they're really doing great stuff, and start working and collecting that information now. So you can still reach out to our awards committee and say, I'm looking to nominate this person for this area. What do I need to do? And then, because you're thinking about it now, congratulations, you just bought yourself 6 months of time to get all of that work together versus now you gotta get it done by January 19th. Ready, set, go, right? So, so keep doing that work, and let's celebrate each other. So thank you for all of that. Academic Standards Committee, Amy Yoder. Academic Standards has been very busy with some subcommittee work and executive committee work this entire fall semester, and so we've got some great stuff to share.
Ooh, we got to get credit for the summer, too.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's a lot of work over the summer.
So Academic Standards met actually today, the executive committee, to review progress on 3 subcommittees. The first being the academic forgiveness, as well as the probation and dismissal policy. The 2 other subcommittees that we are absolutely still looking for lovely staff and faculty to join us on, the first being incompletes. That is actually less policy work and more procedure work, as well as education pieces to that. So we're definitely looking for volunteers if you're interested in getting involved. And the third subcommittee is academic integrity. Policy work, but much more procedure work to look at, as well as components of AI, which I think you're going to hear more about in terms of the AI task force by Faculty Caucus, which will work in conjunction with academic standards. So that's kind of our updates from the committee, but like I said, if anybody's interested in volunteering, getting involved, let us know. We'd be more than happy to have you, and we love more committee on the committees to do the work and to have the good conversations to support our students' success. I move right into the motion, Colleen?
Yeah, so we have a academic forgiveness policy that is going to come up for a vote. So Amy, would you like to make a motion to approve the academic forgiveness policy?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve the academic forgiveness policy edits.
All right, can I have a second? Sabrina Kane, thank you. So I'm going to turn this over to Amy for discussion to talk to the body about it, and then we'll open it up to questions and comments.
Sure, thank you. So in the academic forgiveness policy are 2 separate programs that we have available for students to help improve their GPA while here at the institution. The first being the Fresh Start. The changes that we made to these policies, the edits I should say, are very minimal, but I do think impactful. The first being that there was a requirement in the previous policy that students had to maintain a 2.5 GPA, which doesn't align with any of our probation requirements or anything else for that matter. So we looked to move that from a 2.5 to be more consistent with probation standards, as well as our other fellow SUNY institutions, specifically Monroe, as well as Suffolk, and bringing that back down to a 2.0 for students who are looking to pursue the Fresh Start. That was the biggest change with Fresh Start. 36 credit hours, we had a couple changes in there. Again, also changing the 2.5 back to 2.0 for students looking to pursue their 36 credit hour adjustment. And the other part of this too is that we found that the example that was used, and a couple examples that we used, were specifically a general studies student. So if a student was, let's theoretically say, an auto tech, and they decided to change their major and go into general studies, the way the previous policy was written, they really didn't have the opportunity to utilize something as the 36 credit hour adjustment. So what we did is change language there that specific required courses, so in general studies take, it would be the GS 111, 112, those would be the only classes that are specific to the general studies major, so that a student who took auto tech classes that wouldn't be given an opportunity to repeat those for a higher GPA now no longer has to transfer them into general studies.
Okay, so I'm going to take any questions or comments in two parts. I'll take any questions or comments about Fresh Start. Kathy?
I just have a general question regarding how many people actually had a chance to read this before we walked in here.
This has been part of the committee for the last 6 months. We have a pretty lengthy committee, and this has been brought forward and shown to the Academic Standards Executive Committee as well.
My question, sorry, Colleen, you have to
Kathy?
call on me. My question was more for the body of the Senate, because this is a very important policy, and I commend all the work that went into it, but I don't know that we had adequate time to read it prior to the meeting.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to scroll down to 36 credit hour adjustment. Also requesting questions and comments. Erickson?
In terms of the financial aid, is there a process in here that's been identified to notify students of how it will affect their SAP?
Amy?
Actually, there was zero language in the previous policy, so we did add under number 6. If you look, and it also says this in the Fresh Start too, there was nothing in the previous policy that we currently have in place indicating that this will still count towards financial aid weighted average or credit attempts. This will also be part of the packet when applying for the 36 credit hour application, as well as the Fresh Start policy, which currently is not listed on there whatsoever.
Eric?
Is there appetite to include that financial aid counseling to address the impact of that?
I'm going to say that that is a procedure, and procedure documents can definitely include any sort of item with that. Part of what we do with the policies, and I'm sorry if I'm overstepping, Amy, is try to keep them as green as possible without naming specific offices of the college or positions or things like that. So if names and things like that change, it can be addressed in procedures and not the actual policy. Because then with the policy, it comes to us from subcommittees, and then it goes to the board policy, and then it goes to the board. So anything procedure-wise is usually addressed there. So that's where that would definitely be included. Eric?
No, I completely understand that. Is there an opportunity in the policy to include some type of statement that students will be notified of the impact?
We can certainly ask financial aid. I can't speak for them because they would have to provide that information. I think the biggest thing was that there was zero indication in the current policy that this still does affect a student's financial aid.
Tom? You need the mic.
Can anybody explain to me how it affects the student's financial aid? How would they know how?
All right, so Tom Webb's question was, can anybody explain how it would affect a student's financial aid? Eric?
Hopefully Sarah's ears are not burning as I state, but in SAP with the FSA handbook, there's what's called quantitative and qualitative components of your SAP process. The quantitative process identifies your pace, essentially, so how many credits have you attempted. That goes into then the formula, as well as then the qualitative, which is your overall GPA and grades that you've earned. So when we look at this here, the reason why I think that's a great question, Tom, to ask, and I think a student would have the similar question is, If I'm now having 36 hours adjustment, that's affecting my GPA, which is the qualitative element of SAP. What about the quantitative component, which is reflecting pace? And are they aware of the impact that that would have?
Amy and then Tom.
If I can just counter to that, I think the language does solve that because, again, this is already counting towards the student's attempts as well as weighted GPA. What it basically says is this is not going to change your financial aid attempts. So this is still counting towards your financial aid, it is still part of your weighted average, and is still your credit attempt. So things that are already in place with financial aid are not changing as a result of Fresh Start. I think the difference with adding this statement is that we're actually acknowledging that to the student as opposed to now when we're not.
I'm looking for the red line version because this is also very similar, hang on, to the policy we do have on the books. Would it be in an email from you? Oh,
I
got a
would
plus
think
sign.
so. I don't have my laptop. I mean, you could always look at on my ECC and pull up the current policy on there too.
There it is.
Colleen, that's probably
Got
best
it.
too.
Just give me one. Yes, could you forward it? Where is it? It's on the ECC site?
Yep, go to my ECC.
Yep.
And then is it under academic departments? Yep, academic affairs,
Oh my gosh. There we go.
that. And then
My
scroll to
mouse
the
wasn't
bottom.
working.
Yep.
I'm
It's
still
on the
scrolling.
right-hand side, board policies. College policies on the left-hand side. And then it's academic forgiveness, the first one.
There we go. All right, so this is a policy that we did discuss as a body in 2019, which was 4 years ago. So that is also on the college website. And here is, I don't want to make Chrome faster go away. All right, that is the original policy on the books. Amy, did I see your hand?
Could that be handled with process, just basically a student recognizing that any change to their academic profile could have impact on financial aid, and, you know, even having them verify what impact that would have before they agree to it?
Right, and that is something that we discussed about being part of the procedures, is that the student does meet with an academic or admissions counselor on reentry or pursuing, so that they have all of that information given to them up front as we go through it. And that's part of the procedures. So thank you. Tom, I forgot you, I'm sorry.
That's all right, I'm forgettable. That's okay, don't
You
worry.
were not forgettable.
Here's my concern, and I don't
Yes.
know how to address this. Shouldn't there just be a simple statement somewhere that the student can understand this will affect, will not, whatever it's going to do? Because I'm confused, A, what it does for financial aid. If I'm confused and we're bouncing among 4 different policies and everybody else, can't we just have a sentence in there that just says, if I'm correct, this will not affect your financial aid? Is that what the juxt of this is?
Amy?
That's why so this is the current policy, which doesn't say anything about the weighted average or credit attempt with financial aid. That's why we added that to the new policy, to clarify this is not changing your financial aid attempts or weighted GPA that you have.
Right. What
Just
number?
like if we have a student that withdraws from a class, yep, their academic GPA does not change. However, that is an attempt. So it does count towards financial aid.
Thank you. Fresh Start 7? There we go. There it is. So that's there. Amy?
Just to explain it a little more. So essentially, if a student, because students through Fresh Start can remove grades that they did achieve. So if they received credit for a D, but they want to remove that D and have it teed off, then that attempt is no longer a successful attempt in calculating financial aid. So that's where the completion rate becomes an issue, I believe.
Amy?
It still counts towards financial aid.
Oh, it does?
That's,
Okay.
yep, that's exactly what it says. So it's not counting towards their academic GPA any longer.
Right, still counts.
Still count as part of the weighted average or credit attempt.
But not the GPA.
Correct.
So I see lots of laptops, and I was hoping that people are also reading as I'm scrolling. Just go through real quick because we do have some time. Fresh Start is extended only once during the student's enrollment. Students who previously attended SUNY Erie but have not been in attendance for 3 or more years may choose to take advantage of Fresh Start. Number 3, candidates for Fresh Start will be identified at the time of admission and will be provided with criteria for the program. So that is going to answer that question of how students are going to find out, and then it's going to be coming through our admissions office, which will be addressed in the procedures. Students must submit the Fresh Start application to the Student Support Center no later than the last day of classes in a semester. And the application has to be reviewed with the student and then forwarded to the divisional dean for final approval. Fresh Start may be granted after successful completion of the returning semester as a full-time matriculated student by the completion of the student's returning semester. Successful completion is defined as passing a minimum of 12 credit hours and earning a semester GPA of 2.0 or higher. Part-time matriculated students can also be eligible for the Fresh Start program. In the case of the part-time student, a student's term GPA must be a minimum of 2.0 for every term after readmission until a minimum of 12 credit hours has been reached. So this is applicable to our full-time and part-time students. Following a Fresh Start, cumulative academic average is determined using only courses applied for in the Fresh Start application with a passing grade prior to the Fresh Start period and all coursework taken after readmission. So Amy, I believe that addresses your concern with teeing off certain grades. One of the things the committee did talk about is making that a general statement versus saying a C or a D, because depending on, and using Amy's example of general studies to say nursing or auto tech to general studies or whatever, whatever the movement is, different programs have different requirements, so students may want to pick and choose certain classes depending. So that's why that is a little bit more general, so students have the freedom. So they can get a true fresh start. All right, as a result of being granted Fresh Start, a student will receive credit toward the total degree requirement for only those courses taken prior to the student's 3-year absence from SUNY Erie in which the student earned a passing grade. Students cannot choose courses that were part of a requirement for an earned degree, W grades, non-credit courses, and/or courses that were excluded for other reasons, repeats, program changes, etc. So that kind of dovetails into what I just said. We talked about this. Under the policy, grades that are forgiven will not be used to calculate GPA at SUNY Erie, but will remain part of the official transcript and still count towards financial aid weighted average. Student must accept all current degree and departmental requirements at the time of acceptance into the Fresh Start program. So with that clarification, are there other questions on Fresh Start? Kathy?
I just have 2 general questions about Fresh Start and 36. How many students have taken advantage of this since the inception of the policy? And do we have any statistics or data that show which programs these students were in or why they were unsuccessful in their first attempt?
For the 2019 policy? I don't know, you're the IRAP office. Do you have data?
No.
All right, so does anyone from admissions who would work with students on Fresh Start have that data? Anecdotal or otherwise? Phil?
We just identify them on their incoming applicant and tag them from there, and then,
So you identify them and get them started
I
and,
mean, we could probably go back and run lists, but our lists are live, so they change based on how the student moves through the process, so I don't know how good that data would be.
all right, so I think that's maybe something that we should address during the procedures, right? That the college is going to somehow track these students to make sure that they're successful. Amy Yoder?
And that's exactly what the committee talked about, is moving the forms electronically so that there's a tracking mechanism of these students, because right now it's just paper.
Right. That is something we talked about, is how to make the forms during the procedure trackable so that we can keep that data and housed. And actually, I think Andy and Essie, sorry not to call on you, but you're here, was also part of the discussions, and we talked about where would this live, right? Where would this live? Would this live with the registrar's office? Would it live with academic affairs? And then we also discovered that registrar's office actually doesn't have a space in here somewhere to house things. So again, lots of procedures. Andy, yeah? He's waving at me, just like a yeah.
So currently, when the applications come in, once approved, we upload them into the student's Workday account, into their documents section. But from a retrieval perspective, in order to quantify sort of the history of how many of these have come in, that's not really the mechanism to do it. So when this was brought up with Amy, I think we talked about utilizing sort of a cloud-based file folder that we could maintain these documents in.
Dave, you had a question as a committee member, and I don't remember the answer, so I'm going to call on you to ask it out loud because I don't remember.
So in number 2, it says the students had to be absent from ECC for 3 years. I thought during our discussions we had lowered it to 1.
Amy?
We did have discussions about that, but financial aid did have concerns.
Okay.
So we did mirror ourselves and reached out to a couple of other institutions and got feedback. So yeah, we did. I think we were trying to be lofty and talking about ourselves and our past academic issues. But yes, 3 years is pretty standard across the board.
All right, I'm going to call on Amy, and then Mary Ann is next when she gets to the mic.
Is it stated in the policy about if a student graduates, they cannot apply Fresh Start to their previous grades?
Yes, Colleen just read it.
Yep, what number was that?
I don't remember offhand.
7.
No. I think is it 6?
7.
No,
Yep,
you're fine.
It says it right in 6.
Number
Students
6?
cannot choose courses that were part of a requirement for an earned degree.
Yeah, earned degree. Students cannot choose courses that were part of a requirement for an earned degree, so graduated. Okay, Mary Ann?
I believe.
In reading through this, the 2,
Back up to number 2.
no, between the 2 documents, from 2019 till now, it's difficult to see what changes took place. I think one of the things we've done before is highlighted what those changes were, because just looking at the 2, the biggest thing is who was on the committee. Most of this has been on the books, and I think people aren't familiar with it. That's my thought. So I think that's not clear to people of what the change was, because this has been on the books since we started. The other concern I have, when I was advising a student just a couple of weeks ago, the student came in and told me they were part of the Fresh Start. Well, I had no way of knowing that or verifying it, so I walked them over to counseling. So there has to be some way that this is flagged and we understand it when we advise them. And my third point is, if someone is coming back with Fresh Start, I think we have to be very sensitive of what courses they take that will get them on the path so that they'll be reintroduced to the college with courses that perhaps will lead to some success in their GPA. Because this particular student had a course load that, after being out 10 years and having had very low academic success, was just overwhelmed with the course load that they had been given this semester. And I think that's something we need to take into account and make sure we all have that information communicated to us. So as we're listening to this today and we're voting, we had this in place. I think the biggest thing is, and people can say if I'm wrong, you really can't tell the difference between 2019 and what's on the new document. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Other questions and comments in general or towards Fresh Start? Okay, I'm going to just take a run through the 36 credit hour adjustment. Extended only once, so again, similar to Fresh Start. Allows up to 36 credit hours of grades to be excluded from the cumulative GPA. This option is only available to students who change academic programs. Only credit hours forgiven under this program will be those that were taken to satisfy a previous program requirement that no longer apply. Not required for the student's new academic program. Students must show academic improvement by earning a GPA of 2.0 or higher in order to be eligible. In the case of the part-time student, student's GPA must be a minimum of 2.0 until a minimum of 12 credit hours has been reached. So those two bullets, number 3 and number 4, are similar to what is up in Fresh Start, so that for consistency. 5, students can apply for 36 credit hour adjustment program through their new academic department for courses that no longer apply to the new academic department's specific required courses. All grades earned at SUNY Erie will remain a part of the official academic transcript, but will still count towards financial aid, weighted average, or credit attempt. So the financial aid piece is still there. And students will lose credit hours towards degree completion when a grade is forgiven. And those courses will not count for any degree requirement. So those are the 36 credit hour adjustment bullet points. Does anyone have any questions about those specifically that we haven't addressed yet? Any other comments? Okay, so with that, then I'm going to bring it to a vote. You ready to send it out? All right, so the motion on the floor is to approve the academic forgiveness policy as presented by the Academic Standards Committee to the College Senate. If approved, it will then be passed to the Board of Trustees Policy Committee, which then we wait to hear what they say. If it passes there, then it goes to the board to replace the policy of the same name from 2019. Is it out? All right, and the vote is out. All right, just stopped refreshing, and it has passed with a 76% vote, which is more than 2/3, which is necessary. So the academic policy, or academic forgiveness policy, has moved past College Senate and will be forwarded to the Board of Trustees Policy Committee, which I sit on that committee as well as several other senators. And so if you have also any feedback that you want to make sure is expressed at the Board Policy Committee meeting, you can always reach out to me. We'll also have the procedures nailed down a little bit further once we do present that to the board. If you are interested in being part of that discussion to make sure certain things that you're passionate about are covered in the procedures, please reach out to myself or Amy Yoder to be part of that process. So thank you. And I also want to say, I know this was a big discussion, but this is what we're here for, right? Some things we discuss for a minute or two, some things we discuss for 45 minutes. And that is what shared governance is, and that's what governance, how we work best. So I want to just say thank you again for everybody's very thoughtful comments and concerns and questions and need for clarification, because that is, that's what we do. That's why we are here. So thank you for that. We are going to have, as Amy highlighted, a couple more policies that are going to be coming up through the ranks. So again, if this was something that you found that you were passionate about, we are always looking for members to be part of academic standards. So reach out. Academic Standards Committee is the policy-making committee of the academic policy-making committee of the college, right? So if you want to be part of that very important work, that is the committee that does that work. And as Amy said, we've been working on this through the summer and the fall semester, and there's a couple more policies that are going to be coming through. Some are going to be new, some are updating policies that are already on the books. But again, that is really important work that that committee does, and then that we also discuss here on the floor. So thank you for being part of that important discussion with shared governance today. Title III grant and transformation grant / ASAP program, Kathy Colesto. That's the last thing under old business.
I'm actually going to ask that the Director of Grants report on that, Crystal.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. I saw her move the mic, so I was ready for it.
Okay, so I'll just give a brief overview of what the grants are and then an update on each again. Both of these grants are extensive across several years with pretty sizable budgets, and we have several of those grants, and these are just two of them. I'll start with the ASAP, Advancing Success in Associate Pathways, is the official name of the ASAP. And this is an advisement approach, and it's to increase retention and graduation rates. And what we're doing is replicating the CUNY's advisement model. The grant will start, technically begins with students in January of 2024. The committee, or we'll call it the advisory group, has met several times after several months of technical trainings to ensure that we are following SUNY and CUNY guidelines. We have submitted a blueprint draft. This is a very drafty draft that was submitted. And in that blueprint draft, it talks about, it's broken down in sections, and we reviewed student enrollment, which the eligibility criteria is, this is for New York State students, their first-time full-time students, and their students in general studies, because that is the largest population of students. These students must be eligible for financial aid with 0% of their Pell used. Our advisory group consists of folks from enrollment, registrar, grants, career services. I apologize if I'm leaving everybody out, but it's to engage students that meet the criteria and it requires collaboration across the entire institution. The target is 50 students. SUNY says 40 to 50. They prefer 50. That is the goal for the spring 24 semester. It's a real tight timeline, and so we are working to ensure we meet the goals. There is an email that was developed. Marketing is working on a web page specific to this program. Students will receive information sessions once they're enrolled in the program. They'll receive textbook funds assistance to cover the cost of textbooks. And what this is, the budget is to cover any fees or gaps left after they're applying for aid. So it's to really keep, it's really for retention. They'll follow blocked courses, so it's a list of determined general studies courses that are blocked so that they can stay together as a cohort. The group will continue monthly meetings and discuss what sort of student supports are needed once we have the group of students finalized and they're in the program. And then the next step is to come up with program benchmarks, and we're working to develop the benchmarks to make sure we're on the timeline. Does anybody have any questions for the ASAP grant?
Questions for Crystal with ASAP? Dave Uzinski.
Is there a published list of the courses that are in those cohorts?
Kathy?
I believe that the department chairs who are overseeing that were given that list, but we can ask Adrian to send it out more broadly.
I think that'd be useful probably as an advisor perspective, especially if you see a student that you would benefit.
Yeah, I should mention that there are holds on those classes, and I do believe they're tagged as ASAP. So if you're registering students and a class says 0 of 0, that they might be an ASAP class, but we'll send documentation out.
Great. I have a procedure question, sorry. So for those classes that are tagged as 0, 0, then we can expect that they will be full and they will run? Thank you. Andy, I saw your hand.
Yeah, and because we did identify those courses a little bit late once we started registration, there were some students that had registered for the courses, so you very well may see 4 students enrolled in a course on a cap of 0. We weren't going to pull students out after they registered, but it may not necessarily be a 0, 0 course.
Derek?
I think social science has 2 of these courses, and they're 2 of our most popular courses. And one of the issues that one of my colleagues raised to me was we have other students who would like to take courses, but they can't get into those 2. And we probably maybe should have offered more other courses so that they had a place to land. And so I'm just raising the issue because it was raised to me.
Thank you for that. Kathy?
So we did an analysis of general studies students in the most popular classes that they take in their first term. So that's how your courses got picked. But to that point, I think we should work with Adrian to see if we can offer additional sections, because those 2 sections or any of the classes that are held for ASAP are guaranteed to run with those students.
All right, I think that's very important, especially since they are the most popular. And I know as a South Campus faculty member, filling seated in particular social science is difficult, especially once the spring semester, once we get close to starting. There's not a lot of space for our students sometimes. Other questions, comments about the grants for Crystal? All right, you're off the hook. Thank you. All right, we're moving to new business. College Senate dates for 2024. So a little background. Usually we don't do this until, where are they? May. Are they at the bottom of it? Are they? Or is that this year? That's this year. Do we not post them? I might be also blind. Oh, darn it. Maybe. Did I email it to you? Page 2 of the agenda, the 23, 24. We've already voted on those last May. I'm looking for 24, 25, but I appreciate it, Sue. You're fine. So while I'm looking for those, they're in line with the academic calendar, and we started voting on these several years ago because someone complained, basically, and I was like, but we had a whole discussion and we all talked about it. Where is it? And so we started voting on it to confirm it. Just forward it to me quick. But what happened at the end of the spring semester is this room was booked, and then I got an email, even though we booked this room, again, even though we booked this room for the spring semester, I got another email telling me that that's not it. I don't think you included the attachments. We're going to try that again. And then I got an email from somebody that said we couldn't have the meetings here. So I was talking with Bob Germoni and a couple of us, and we were like, you know what? The academic calendar is actually available for fall 24, spring 25. Let's pick our dates now so we can book this room, and then we're not in the auditorium. So that's why we're doing this earlier than usual. So what we did is just pick the second Tuesday of every month, just like we always do, compared it to the academic calendar. There were no weird conflicts with breaks or anything like that. Actually, it was very straightforward where we didn't have to move dates with spring breaks or election days or any other things that we've had to do in the past. All right, we're gonna come back to that. Thank you, Mary. Oh, it dinged. All right, let's see. Oh, good. All right, let's just get this up here. All right, so here's the dates. The first column is College Senate Executive Committee, which doesn't really affect a bunch of people in the room other than the College Senate Executive Committee. It's in the bylaws and things like that, but anything necessary for the College Senate agenda is discussed at College Senate Executive Committee. So that's the purpose of College Senate Executive Committee. So if you want something discussed at College Senate, you got to get it to us in time for College Senate Exec. So that's why we like to share those dates. There's the College Senate meetings. Again, it's every second Tuesday for the entire academic calendar. There's nothing wonky with any of the breaks. And then the Faculty Caucus of the Senate schedule, which is the third Tuesday. Nothing crazy either, other than obviously we don't meet during any sort of scheduled breaks. So there are those dates. Very uncontroversial, because it's just, there's no weird dates. So there's that. I would like to take a motion to accept the proposed fall 24, spring 25 College Senate dates. Derek, thank you. A second. Amy, thank you. Any comments or questions about the dates or why we're doing it? Bob? I didn't mean that to sound aggressive. Bob, what do you want?
So this is actually going to go on to something that Kathy said before, where the policy wasn't uploaded to the portal early enough. This wasn't uploaded at all. Can we put another column in here that's the date when things will be uploaded to the portal so we can review it? If you read our bylaws, section 4 says it's 1 week before every meeting. So it should be by last Tuesday that all of these documents are up there.
What's that? We could add that column for sure. With that being said, then we're also going to have to become a lot more strict with things that we receive from all of our committees, right? Like we got a committee report today. We got another one yesterday at 7 p.m.
So also the bylaws state that they're supposed to be 2 weeks before the executive committee and posted 1 week before.
Yep, they are. I know they are. But, you know, we still don't get them. Yeah, the calendar was a glitch. We did actually have these, but we just missed them on the update. So Bob, would you like to make a motion to add a column with the dates that things should be uploaded to the College Senate site?
Yes, I would.
Do you want me to put them on there right now, or does everyone trust me that I'll put the actual date that's the week before on there? Or should I do it right now? Do you want me to do it right now? Do you trust me? It'll just subtract 7 days, right? All right, so we need to vote on Bob's motion to adjust this motion. So any questions or comments on Bob's motion to add a 4th column on posted materials to the College Senate site? Any objections? All right, so that motion passes. I will add a column, and it'll be exactly 7, the date of the middle column, 7 days prior. I'm not going to waste time on the floor filling that in now. All right, any other questions or comments, objections? All right, so the dates pass with the addition of the 4th column as voted on in Bob's motion. Okay. Oops. Andy Heisey, SUNY Erie Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan.
I have to be honest, I was hoping you wouldn't get to me at this point.
Do you want to wait?
No, it's fine,
Okay.
honestly. So, hello, everybody. My name is Andy Heisey. I am serving as the chair of the General Education Committee. I've had the opportunity to do that since just at the end of spring 2022. It's tremendously fulfilling work. It's challenging. I've never quite had duties that meant that everything was kind of like figured out as you go, but I like doing that too. I'm going to follow that by admitting to all of you who have found the new SUNY General Education Framework at all a headache. I hear you. It was something brand new when I first started this, again, end of spring 2022. That was when we really had to first start sitting up and taking notice and, sort of asking ourselves, like, okay, what do we do here? What's it going to take to implement this? Believe it or not, there was one single one of those updates that was guaranteed to cause everybody a little bit of, my father-in-law would call it agita. It was DEISJ. I can't believe that once upon a time I was so new to it that I didn't even remember the order of the letters. But anyway, there it is. I've been approaching this as the rest of it is sort of, let's figure it out as we go. Let's kind of give ourselves a chance to work with it, talk to other people, and gradually the meaning will come. It hasn't really. Over time, I've been lucky enough to work with a number of departments to, talk about updates to curriculum and changes to courses. And, little by little, we've sort of figured out, all right, in this case, what does it mean to add this or change this? And I've done that enough times that, now I feel like I've got some of that knowledge. And then, exciting thing, this semester, I get offered the chance to go to Albany for a SUNY conference all about this one requirement. I think, yes, There it is. I'm going to come back from this knowing everything there is about DEISJ. Fantastic. That didn't happen. No session answered or even attempted to answer the question of what DEISJ is or should be to everyone. All of the sessions were, in fact, so very specific to the institutions from which their presenters had come that some of these went unexpectedly and even comically wrong. And at first, all of us felt a little bit awkward about it as we watched it happen. But little by little, as I had the chance to talk to these presenters afterwards, we all kind of came to the same conclusion. The sessions didn't go according to plan because of just how different this is from one place to the next. It is for that reason today that I want to encourage the College Senate community to consider the reinstatement of a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan and a possible reformation of a SUNY DEI committee at the college. DEISJ will only be meaningful if we understand it and conceive of academic work which has to do with it locally, right? Ours. Such conception and planning carries with it tremendous potential at the same time. We can bring unity to what might be a very, very divergent experience. We can make sure that whether a student fulfills DEISJ through Intro to Sociology or medical assisting or learning to manage a hotel kitchen or carry out one's duties as a social worker, their experiences will be unified by their identity as a SUNY Erie student and the vision that we lay out for this most important of requirements. So there's my speech.
All right, so Andy, are you making a motion to reform that committee?
I didn't know if I could because I'm not a voting member. Yeah.
Would anyone like to make a motion on Andy's behalf? Tom Webb, what is your motion? All right, so Tom Webb is making a motion
Thank you, Tom.
on Andy Heisey's behalf to form a SUNY Erie Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee that will develop a plan. Did I get the motion correct?
Sounds good to me.
All right, and would anyone like to second that? Jackie Bossman. All
Thank
right.
you, Jackie.
Questions or comments? Objections? Jackie?
Just a comment. The Faculty Council of Community Colleges, the FCCC, of which I am a part, that's why I'm here, is also forming a DEI SJ committee of that shared governance body, so we'll be in touch about that.
Beautiful. So we are in line with SUNY with this motion. Excellent. Objections? All right, so with that, the motion is going to pass by consent. Thank you, Andy. And Tom and Jackie for your support on that as voting senators. Appreciate that. All right, follow up on evening classes and services. This is something that came up during the town hall portion of the College Senate last month. It came up off camera to address a concern about 2 7.5-week classes that were going to be offered for the English department in the spring, and it just was turned into a conversation about making sure our students were supported across the board with evening type of classes. Kathy took that on as follow-up from that meeting. Would you like to give an update on how things are going?
I'm actually going to turn it over to some of our team. So there were about 15 of us that have met every Monday for the last 3 weeks. And Dave Uzinski is going to talk about the overarching issue, and then Robin will drill into some of the details.
Thank you. So it was brought up at the last Senate meeting during the town hall portion, and it somewhat concerned me because I had brought up the fact that we were now offering 7.5-week courses that were seated at night at South Campus. And Tahira brought it up and said, well, what type of services are we going to be offering at that time? Because our college has really shrunk in terms of the services offered past 4 p.m. So this led to a quick committee call together, and we met first on Monday the 27th. Wait, hang on, I got this. We met first on the 27th. I should remember that date. It was very exciting. There was thunder snow at South Campus.
There was.
That was my highlight. Any rate, we met at that meeting and we had to brainstorm, like, well, how many students are there? Like, how many courses are actually offered that end after 4 p.m. or start after, if you're ending after 4, you're probably starting after 4. But how many students how many courses are actually ending at that time? So our first initiative after that first meeting was just to identify how big the problem was across all 3 campuses. And so it comes out that for the proposed capacity, we know they're not going to be at capacity. There are 228 sections proposed for the spring 24 semester. Now, this may include like some other courses. It was hard to disentangle the internships and whatnot, but we did our best. And that's like 4,250 seats that end after 4 o'clock, that actually have a room at the campuses, one of the 3 campuses. So then someone asked, well, how does that compare to spring 23 actual seats? And so in spring, our past semester, we actually had 214 sections, so we've added 14 sections at night. And that was 2,357 seats that we had last spring, and basically no services after 4 at all 3 campuses. And just to let you know for actually what happened last spring, North Campus had about 1,400 seats, and City had about 450, and South had 63. So North Campus is dominating with like night school, but what we discussed in the following meetings, then Robin will address with some of the details of what services we hope to provide immediately for this upcoming spring semester.
Okay, thank you, Dave. So we talked about student support services. Right now, we do not have a lot of evening support services being offered. There's some that are, but we went right down the list with our group. We talked about the library and offering services for library support services. We also talked about food services, welcome desk, work study, in-person tutoring, open computer labs, IT help desks, security, transportation, fitness center, switchboard. Then we got into the service areas, financial aid, the bursar office, registers during peak times of the semester, counseling, food pantry, career services, childcare. We talked to each of the departments because there were members representing the student support services in our group, and we asked them what it would look like in their department to be able to supply these evening support services. So we did a breakdown for each department. Some of them were what we call services that are already offered in the evening. They might just need to tweak up or make some adjustments to them. So for example, the fitness centers, they have hours right now, but they were saying it wouldn't take much to hold those hours open a little bit longer. So that was one of them that may not need a lot of adjusting. We also have, we broke them down to see which ones we might be able to get in place quicker. The idea behind going through each department and coming up with if staff was needed, support staff was needed for the evenings, again, was a departmental conversation because there was a lot of people there for the support service. So there's ones we broke down that we were hoping could be in place for spring because we do have a lot of evening sessions and we know our students would benefit not only academically, but they would appreciate having these services available when they are on campus. So we broke the spring sessions down, and then we had some that might be more, we might be able to get in place more for fall. So we are taking this proposal, we're going to move it forward and see if we can make any headway with getting support services in place for this spring semester, and if not, by fall. I don't know if anybody wants to comment further that was in our committee, because there was very valuable input taking place, so I want to kind of open that up if Colleen would allow that.
Of course. Any, Eric?
I just want to truly commend the work that you're doing on this as it directly relates to the strategic enrollment plan, specifically goal 1 and 3 about the adult learner and the non-traditional learner. So I think that this is absolutely tremendous, and I'm so happy to see it institutionally worked on. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Derek? I don't know.
Okay.
There it
Now
is.
it's working. We once had as many as 12 courses, maybe 200 seats filled at night. And what killed our night program was an arbitrary rule that said, when we were looking at capacity, kill classes to, how do I just, we were given a maximum number of courses to offer, be it day or night. I could have run numerous night courses, but the capacity would never have been as high as the potential day courses. And in a matter of 3 semesters, we took what had been maybe 20% of enrollment and dropped it down to 0. Because I was not about to drop a day class that could hold 20 students in favor of a night class that might hold 14 students. And that's how we killed the night program. And the night program is a different market than day program. It's a different student. And I think it was short-sighted that if we want to encourage night program, we have to have a different capacity figure or to treat them separately. They're different markets.
Thank you, Derek. All right, thank you, Robin. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Kathy. And again, I want to thank senators for bringing up different issues during the town hall portion, because that's where we talk about things like, hey, I heard this or I heard that, whatever it is. I sent an email to follow up with some administrators on like, hey, what are we going to do? And then we realized, all right, listen, we need to loop in SAC office. We need to loop in all these different services. And we found a common time on Mondays. We're like, let's hammer this out between the November meeting and the December meeting, and look at what we did. So again, awesome shared governance and doing what we need to do for our students. Last thing before we get to the good of the order / town hall is artificial intelligence task force. This is more of an information piece. Artificial intelligence will be addressed under academic standards within academic integrity. However, faculty have been talking, we talked at distance learning, there's tools for AI, there's all these different pieces, right, that don't fit all in a nice little package under academic integrity. It will be addressed in academic integrity, but it's a much larger issue. So what some faculty have proposed is let's come up with a task force, let's get that work done and get all of that together, and then we will bring that to the academic standards to become part of the academic integrity policy, right? And then it's also going to help with that education piece, procedure pieces, and all of those items versus not clogging, but academic integrity is a bunch of different items. AI is one of them, right? So if you want to be part of this task force, part of writing the resolution to form this task force, or you're passionate about it, you have information about it. I know I've gotten some emails from different faculty members, librarians, and all of that. So if you want to be part of the process to write the resolution to form this task force, and with the resolution, what it's going to do is it highlights the things we want to do and how we're going to do it. Right? So Faculty Caucus of the Senate meets a week from today via WebEx. If you're on I'm pretty sure all the faculty are on the listserv. And by faculty, I mean FFECC members, so all of them. Look for an email from Colleen with the WebEx invite to be part of that AI discussion. Questions? Okay. Mary Ann.
I don't have a question, just a thought for consideration. I had gone to the regional professional development meeting for SUNY last month, and one of the things that was not clear is AI. So I've been in touch with the leaders there, and in early spring, they're going to have several sessions on training for professional development with AI. It might be something that you want to consider before we start a task and a policy. Just thinking about it, because it's uncharted territory.
No, for sure. And I think with the task force, that's going to be part of what they're going to outline. This is what we're going to do as a task force before any policy or anything. It's to do all that work. So I think maybe with the Faculty Caucus of the Senate meeting next week, attend, and maybe we make that part of members of this group will attend these things to get those education pieces, right? And that's the thing with writing a resolution. We can make it anything we want to address all of these concerns because we need to do all of this work before any sort of policy work even starts. All right, so with that, I'm going to end the official College Senate meeting, and then I'll open it up to the Good for the Order Town Hall. So, Kathy, Town Hall, or, so not yet. We're going to wait till the cameras are off?